Before leaving the topic of comparison, we'll take a quick look at compare weather. Compare weather can be really handy if you're looking to compare fire behavior model outputs for a given landscape and model based on different inputs. So as the name suggests, it can be really handy in comparing different weather inputs, useful for prescription development, planning, or sometimes just to change one variable in a model run and see the impact of that change. So to run compare weather, we'll go to the planning cycle, either strategic planning or implementation planning have tiles for compare weather. Select the compare weather tile, and the first choice we'll have will be our model type. And compare weather is intended for comparing existing model runs. So if you haven't had a chance already to create the model runs listed in this lesson, now's a good time to pause the video, complete those runs, and return. But once you have the runs you want to compare, and you're in the compare weather interface, you can select a model. In our case, we're looking at landscape fire behavior basic. We'll select our starting output, and this will populate a list of choices for all the other outputs that match that landscape and model type. So selecting Granite Creek, unedited auto 97th, will populate a list here with all three of the examples under that are high, mid, and low fuel moisture model runs. And notice whichever one is selected in this model output field above will always be your first set of outputs. So this is locked in place. So if I wanted to start with low fuel moisture, for example, I would just clear my model output selection and select a new one. And now we can see low is the default first choice here. You can see this is starting to display below, and these will be displayed in the order that they are selected here. So for example, low fuel moisture, mid fuel moisture, and high fuel moisture. And we don't necessarily need to select all of these choices. We can compare up to 5 though. So in this case, I'll just compare low, mid, and high fuel moisture options. And you'll note these arrows and delete buttons, so we could remove from this list. We could also change the order if we wanted to for anything after our first choice. And if you noticed, as I change these, the selections are displaying under here, so this is dynamic, pretty responsive. So now I've got our low fuel moisture, mid, and high fuel moistures. And we're looking at flame length right now. We can change this to any of the model outputs available in Map Studio. So if I wanted to see rate of spread, I could change that here. We could also zoom to a specific area of interest if we wanted. And scrolling down, you can see the inputs for each of these is listed in a table. There's also a copy run button. So if I wanted to make a quick copy of Granite Creek low fuel moisture, make a couple of changes, then navigate back here and compare those changes, I could. So copy run will just open this run in Modeling Playground, where you can make your changes and run a new model. These thumbnails are kind of small though, so it's probably going to be most helpful to view this in Map Studio. And you can either do that with the split screen button up in the top left, or if you keep scrolling down, there is a view on map button as well. And we've got our comparison interface up here in the top of Map Studio. Our layers are listed here in Layer List and displayed. We've also got access to all of the widgets in Map Studio as well. So if we wanted to add reference layers, change the base map or that sort of thing, we could. And this list is dynamic. So right now we're looking at our 3 model outputs with rate of spread. So if I wanted to change this to crown fire activity, this list will dynamically change. And we can toggle through and turn various inputs on and off. Use the swipe widget or identify, or evaluate these layers however we want. So clicking through here, I can pretty quickly see how the different fuel moisture scenarios will impact our fire model outputs, like flame length. I could also look for parts of the landscape that I feel could be potential problem areas or hazard areas, and see how extreme the fire behavior might get in those areas, and then develop the prescription accordingly. To return back to the form, you can either use the Return to Form button or the slider in the top right as well. There's a notes field to include some notes about this comparison if we wanted to. To save it, we can give it a descriptive name. And we'll click Save and see that it has been saved to Workspace in the same folder as our model outputs. So if we right-click on this, you'll notice we don't have a summary report option. That is a planned addition for now. If you want to get back to that inputs form or the Map Studio view, the choices are selecting either edit or copy. So one note here, if you select edit, make changes, and save this compare weather, those changes will overwrite your original settings. If we wanted to save this compare weather and create a new version with our changes, copy would be the way to go. Using copy, it would retain this original version and save a new copy of it. But you can see either choice we select will bring us back to this form screen, as well as our Map Studio view. So if I wanted to make changes to this comparison, I could. Since I'm just in here to view it, I'm just going to navigate back to my workspace. So that's a quick look at compare weather and comparing model input scenarios at a glance to help develop prescriptions or evaluate how a change in specific inputs will affect fire behavior.